Hello, my name is Patrick Chambers, and for my research project, I decided to focus on the field of financial communications. So, what is financial communications? Financial communications is the vehicle through which all financial news, updates, and regulatory requirements are met by the public relations industry. It's an incredibly dynamic and interesting sector of this incredibly interesting overall field. So, to begin, a quick background. Financial communications emerged in the aftermath of the Second World War and the Great Depression. New regulatory requirements by the SEC, that's the Securities and Exchange Commission, required that financial services companies regularly release updates and news about their overall business. As a result, communications was meeting the business world. To start, the communications era of financial communications emerged in the early 1950s and lasted through 1970 or so. The Financial Communications Society and the National Institute of Investor Relations was founded in the late 1960s and marked the emergence of a full and distinct sector within the public relations industry. This was basically just getting the foundation for the larger industry at play. In the 1970s, an era known as the financial era began. This was as the United States economy began to really transition from an industrial economy to a service-based economy. Through this era, financial communications emerged and developed alongside the rapidly growing financial services sector. No longer was it just about communication, it was about explaining and including a lot of the high-tech data that was beginning to be released and talked about by different financial services companies. It was during this era things like Bloomberg were founded in 1981, a one-stop shop for all financial communications news and important figures of the day that has redefined what the industry actually does. And finally, financial lingo and communication strategies converged during the synergy era, which began in the 2000s. This was the era that focused on the meeting of both media and financial information as the proliferation of technology changed the way that business is conducted. So, for my research, I wanted to focus on the best practices, and I discovered that the best practices are how you manage the reputation of your firm, the media network you have, and your overall profitability. So, to begin, Joe L. Frank and reputation. Joe L. Frank is the #1 advisory firm in the world. They are ranked #1 for M&A and #1 for corporate advisory. They have managed some of the biggest mergers and acquisitions of recent years, including Continental Airways and US Airways, as well as a variety of crises. Most notably, they were employed by Lehman Brothers during the 2008 crash. They're ranked as one of the #1 advisory firms, and in 2024, they were ranked as comparable to Goldman Sachs or Sidley Austin, two major players, one in investment banking and one in law. Next, collected strategies and the network that you build. So collected strategies emerged as executives at Joe L. Frank left and teamed up with a person who was journalist at Bloomberg. They are the #1 new player on the block. They had coverage in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, as this marked the time where you had a real synergy, as the term, between the actual professional firm side and the journalism side. So for that reason, their practice of really leveraging both of their expertise in their respective fields makes them a really compelling player and is a really great focus on where the future of the firm is going. You need to have a strong media network. Finally, profitability. At the end of the day, you want to make money, and Edelman is by far the most profitable PR firm in the world. But what not many people realize is that they're also the most popular and most profitable financial services communication firm, because their subsidiary, Edelman Smithfield, has over $100 million in fees for 2024. Now, that's about 10% of their $1 billion in fees for 2024, but it's still by far the most profitable PR firm and the most popular and profitable financial communications firm. In addition, this is an era where we have huge valuation for some of these firms. The merger of Sard Verbinnen and Finsbury in 2021 led to the parent company, WPP, being valued at over $16 billion. There's serious money in this sector nowadays. So, thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope you learned something about financial communications. I know it's an incredibly dynamic and interesting sector, and I hope to one day be a part of that as well.